Pet Care Rockstars is brought to you by.
Do you have a pet care business but need a website? Well, look no further than the Pet Care Rockstars website solution. We can deliver to you a fast-loading, mobile-optimized website that's also SEO friendly. Your customers will love our websites, and you'll love the affordability. We'll also give you all the tools you need to easily maintain your website, even if you have little technical knowledge. Go to petcarerockstars.com/websites now to get more information.
Welcome to Pet Care Rockstars. Solid advice you can implement into your own pet care business today. Whether you're just starting out, getting ready to grow, or ready to scale. You'll hear firsthand from Pet Care Rockstars who've been down this path before, including what worked, what didn't, and some tools you'll need for your awesome journey. Now the host of Pet Care Rockstars, Dave Westwood.
My guest today has been in the pet sitting business for over 2 decades, owning Missouri-based Pampered Pet Sitting along with his wife, Jill. He switched his focus to taking care of cats only, starting another company called Cats at Home Pet Sitting, where he has his wife along with several other team members serving much of West Central Missouri. Jay Pattiz, welcome to Pet Care Rockstars.
Thank you.
Hey, it's awesome having you here, Jay. Let me ask you first, how did you get started in the pet sitting industry?
Well, back in '96, our house was being overtaken by pets. My wife was breeding cockatiel birds, and she tried to have some cats and dogs, and there was feathers everywhere, and she was wanting to get involved with, breeding some other birds and things. I said, there's got to be a better way for us to enjoy pets. So I looked around and I ran into Patty Moran's book, Pet Sitting for a Profit. She's the president of Pet Sitters International.
Yep.
I read that and thought, this might work for us. So I even contacted her directly. I'm the type of person I'll call anyone. So figured out this was a pretty good thing, and we got started do our work, in January, and got our insurance and everything together and start figuring out whether our small town, which at the time was only maybe a population of 15,000 would support it or not. So I wasn't sure. And we actually began pet sitting on May 1st, 1997.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I know you mentioned Patty Moran, and, I'm sure trying to get her on the phone today might be a little more difficult, but, kind of in the infancy of the pet sitting industry, it was definitely a different game. So, so this really started as a family business, right? I mean, you all kind of worked together from the start, right?
Yeah. Part-time family business is all it started as. And we were both working full-time at the time, and we both continued to work full-time for the next few years. And we do it, as we built up the business. But as soon as we started, both of us had lived in Warrensburg for about 20 years before starting, so we were already pretty well known and had already been a member of chambers through other organizations. So we had a lot of business right away. So it wasn't difficult. It was just trying to keep up with it and figure out the direction of it.
Yeah. So at what point, because as I said, this was just you and Jill. What point did you say, hey, we need some help? When did you bring on your first team member?
And I don't have a lot of staff now. I never have had. It's mostly me and her, and mostly me actually still. Just 2 years later, one of my clients says I could, because I had turned her down a few times, says it looks like you need some help, and I'm not working anywhere right now. I'd be willing to help you. So she started with us on a part-time basis, and then that's how I did it over. And every single person that's worked with us has either been a client themselves or were a family member of one of our clients. I've never hired anybody else's street.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's interesting because I know we kind of talk about the cat sitting side, I definitely have some questions in regard to that. So, you've been doing this for over 20 years now, and no doubt there's been a lot of changes in the industry. What have you seen? I mean, you're probably in a more rural area than,
I'm in a
you know,
rural areas, a lot of small towns together. Our cat sitting business also makes it up into the metropolitan Kansas City area, which is an hour from us.
well, so like I say, I mean, you come in with a lot of experience, pre-internet, where we were probably, advertising in the yellow pages and doing stuff like that. What old school type stuff do you think works today
Oh,
that a sitter can still implement to grow their business?
I still firmly believe and always will believe pet sitting's a relationship business. So the old school of networking, the old school getting to know people, the old school helping organizations out still works. Even little things like putting up flyers somewhere, and talking to people about it still works.
Sure.
I do the internet stuff too, but it still works. And I think as long as pet sitting's a relationship business, it will always work.
Well, and you bring up a great point, Jay, because I think a lot of people get in this business and they think, hey, I can take care of pets and I don't have to see people, right? But ultimately it's the clients that are the ones paying the bill, right? So so I think you make a great point in stating that it is a relationship business.
Yep. I still firmly believe it.
Yeah. Have you seen, other than the advent of the internet and social media, over the 20 years, I mean, what changes have you seen in the industry?
Well, the big change is that it's been the internet and all the online marketing and all the online. Just the simple smartphones has made a gigantic difference in our lives. When scheduling and communication and all that was so much more difficult without it. It's a lot easier now with it. Of course, you can mess up.
Sure.
One of my pet sitters who covers out an area away from here, we had someone contact us about providing service, and I texted her the wrong phone number. So
Okay.
you can still mess up, but it's nice to have things in writing. Text goes through right away. It used to be you might have had to play phone tag, There wasn't very good voicemail around. There wasn't stuff like this around, So, and you also had to network a lot more. You had no availability of doing online advertising or online communication at all.
Yeah, I know in my years of the business, I think that's kind of the biggest thing I see is I find it more and more difficult to kind of find the time to do the networking because, there's all these other things like managing social media and web inquiries and things like that.
Yes.
So,
Travel every day from people wanting to write posts for us. What I did a few years ago when I switched our website over, I decided I wanted to have resource pages, and marketing people had always talked how that was a good idea. So they were more local oriented, but I get all these national people wanting to put their stuff on our resource page all the time.
yeah. Do you think that helps with the local SEO, or is it more just them trying to get a few more clicks through to their stuff?
No ifs, ands, and buts about it.
Yeah. So
It's a good PR tool with your fellow pet pros, because I have listed on our resource page, for example, every single veterinarian, every single groomer, pet pro shop, pet shop, and things like that. As well as I list some national things and regional things too.
right.
So
Right.
I'm real happy because people will go through that and see it and contact them for their services because of it. And I always remind them that I do it too.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things. I mean, you talked about being a relationship business. It's not just with the clients, but also with, some of these other businesses that are complementary, whether it's a vet or a groomer or whatever. And like you said, you remind them, hey, I'm pushing some stuff your way, and hopefully you get that same in return. So,
we're over 22 years, but it's not a big deal, 2 years difference. But because we've been doing this for so long, and we've built up these relationships, we get referrals all the time.
Yeah. And that's, and again, that goes back to some of the things that work today that worked 20 years ago, right? Word of mouth was something that I think you can't trade, for anything. So Jay, take me through the evolution of your business. So you transitioned and you actually created a second company that deals only with cats, so cats at home pet sitting. So tell me about that, and how that kind of came about.
Okay. Well, we continued doing our pet sitting. Believe it or not, for 14 years, I didn't even have a website. Didn't have no web presence at all. And then I went to a pet sitter conference, and they talked about how important it was to have a website and to have a smartphone and have all these things. And I decided I was going to try this. So when I came back to Warrensburg, I went about looking trying. I was so tech challenged, I had no idea what to do. So I was lucky that we have a major university here in town called University of Central Missouri, and they had a small business center that the state of Missouri operates there. And they gave me tutoring. They hired a person just to tutor me on how to even get a smartphone, how to operate it. And she got me on Facebook and all the other social media. And she worked with me to get with me on our first website later in the fall. And for a couple of years, each semester would have a different student as a tutor that would help me with that. And then I quickly realized that I was getting up there in age and I couldn't handle all this. So I wanted to move more towards cats as a transition towards semi-retirement and kind of an exit strategy. And so that's how Cats at Home Pet Sitting got kind of born. Because we had run into other pet sitters in the Kansas City area around here who also wanted to emphasize more on cats. So we decided to start Cats at Home Pet Sitting as a group of us.
Yeah. And, I'll tell you, when you and I have talked in the past, and for me, it's one of those things where I'm kind of like, yeah, this is my retirement plan too, because, I'm not getting any younger. And I think one of the things I realized personally anyway, that I didn't realize going into this business was how big of a potential the feline side of the market was. Like, I thought, hey, I'm just going to walk dogs and, play with dogs. I never thought about cats. I'm like, hey, you put out food and they're fine, right? So
I agree with you. Cats is a passion of ours anyhow. As I said, I have 5 in our house right now, but we've always had cats, and my wife belongs to cat, and myself belongs to cat club. So, Kansas City area cat club. So that's always been a passion and an expertise. So we thought that would be a natural way to go. And it gives you much more flexibility in scheduling. There's less competition for it when we started emphasizing in it. So.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is huge, because I think a lot of times you're right. People look for dog sitters, and they're the ones that are looking for cat sitters. I think if you specialize and you make it crystal clear, and obviously with the name of your business alone, you're making it crystal clear that, hey, we are targeted towards, your cat. I think it's a great niche that you could really capitalize on, because I think there are a lot of people out there that are looking specifically for cat care, and like I said, that was something that I didn't take into consideration when we started our business over 10 years ago. So
I did research on it too, and went through demographics and stuff. So we actually spent almost the entire first year doing this and deciding how we were going to do the organization, how we were going to set up and everything like that, and then working on a website and working on a logo. And I ended up even getting our logo a nationwide trademark, and that was an interesting experience. And so, and then it wasn't until almost a year later that we started getting our first clients directly associated with it. And just this past year, I switched our website to a more professional, modern-looking website, and we've noticed our traffic go way up and our inquiries go way up as well.
yeah, and I've been on your website. I think it looks great. I think from that standpoint, I think there's a lot to offer, and you're definitely targeted towards that. Now, let me ask you this, and I don't know how your geographic areas kind of overlap each other, but did you have a concern that basically, you're cutting off half your potential business, but also that you're kind of your own competition, and that may not necessarily be a bad thing, actually.
I know what you're saying. We're still continuing Pampered Pet Sitting. So
Right.
the thing is I'm really big in the stats, and that's another thing I think most pet sitters miss out on, is really looking at the stats and trends. And I've always been big in the stats. And so it was only beginning last year that more than half our clientele were cat people. So we've been transitioning towards this. So we're just making progress. And I have a couple other people to help us with Pampered Pet Sitting, and they take a lot of the dog sitting. And we don't do any dog walking.
Okay. So it's strictly vacation.
That's
Type
right.
stuff.
I mean, I have one client I've had her since 2001, who I go once a week now. When I started with her in 2001 is 5 days a week because she was a professor at the university.
Sure.
Then it went to 3 times a week as she cut back as being a professor. And then when she retired, she didn't want to lose us. So I just go over every Wednesday. And it's been like that for several years now. And then she's our only dog walking client. And I have calls all the time, and I discourage it.
See, and that's, it's funny. We kind of talk about that, retirement plan, and that, hey, I want to transition to something else. The midday dog walking, Monday through Friday, is the stuff where I'm like, hey, I would love to do that. It's the nights and the weekends and the holidays where I'm kind of like,
A lot of mostly cat-only businesses, that's how they run their business.
Yep.
It's cat vacation sitting or whatever,
Yep.
cat sitting, and they do midday dog walking just during the week. And so they get away from all the evening and early morning and weekends and things like that.
Yeah. And that's, what I look at. I mean, we do have cat sits where we do twice a day because of incidents.
I have some of them too. Sure.
Yep. So since you switched, to this different, brand, do you find that it's a different type of customer that might not have used a traditional pet sitter, but then they realized, hey, they're just taking care of cats. Do you find it's a different customer, or is it still pretty similar?
Yes, I find, and I was expecting that. I did research on all this ahead of time and being involved in cats. Generally, yeah, they're more eccentric about their cats than just a normal pet sitter. But most all I don't like to throw a lot of numbers out, but I think I have over 70 cat-only clients here with Pampered Pet Sitting, and we're still in a small town area. I think that's pretty good. And
Sure.
our active client base is in around 130 something now. Our peak was several years ago at about 230. So, um, so I guess that we still get a lot of those type of people too through Pampered Pet Sitting. But yeah, they're more eccentric about their cats, and they're wanting to make sure somebody can handle them, because cats are different than dogs in a lot of areas, and they can go downhill, for example, in their health real fast, faster than dogs and other pets.
Mm,
And
yeah.
somebody more experienced to see that happening and know what to do.
Yeah. And I mean, given my experience, I can't agree with you more. Unfortunately, we lost a 19-year-old cat, a couple of weeks ago. So I totally feel, that pain personally. So, you mentioned about the differences between dogs and cats. So if you're talking to a typical pet owner, what would you say to them where, if they're thinking cats are self-sufficient, really only need a self-feeder and water to get by, and they don't need a pet sitter, what would you say to them?
What I basically tell them is that it depends on how long they're going to be gone. Number one, the self-feeder, after a while, is going to get clogged up. I know I have a lot of clients who still use them even though we go over. So sometimes the cats can't push the food down on their own. Number two thing I'm going to tell them is dry food. They're asking for a problem down the road. Most of the cats that eat only dry food, sooner or later they have urinary conditions and blockage and some serious health issues. So they need to have something other than just dry food. But most importantly, they need socialization just as much as dogs do. Even though they seem pretty independent, they really will miss their owners a lot, and they may do some pretty bad things when the owners are gone too long.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I think to me is something that resonates, because you're right. I mean, cats, when their owners are away, they can definitely get into mischief. If and if they're by themselves, I mean, even a self-sufficient cat is going to get lonely after a while. So, I definitely get that. So let me ask you, now that you've established what is in essence a second brand, what is your role within Pampered Pet Sitting? I mean, what are you doing now?
I'm still real active. Ever since day one, over 20 years ago, I've done the vast majority of pet sitting. I still probably do over 80% of the pet sitting. So I just don't want, for example, the first 6 months of this year, I've only had 8 clients that were dogs only that I did. I'm trying to get most of the other people to do them. But out of the 65 clients that have used it so far this year, 36 of them have been cats only. So you see, we don't have much. That's a big portion of it. And another 15 of them are multi, both cats and dogs.
Sure.
So
Sure.
we're getting to the point where we're transitioning. We're having less and less dog sitting clients.
Okay.
And I still do I have one lady who does a lot of the dogs, does both dogs and cats in a rural area that's 10 to 15 miles from us.
Sure.
And one lady who's 30 miles from us who does the dogs and cats. And then I have one lady who just helps me out here around Warrensburg. But she's been with me for 16 years. All my people, except for one, have been with me for 12 years or longer.
Yeah. And you've definitely been able to maintain that tenure. And with that, I wanted to talk about cats at home because, in addition to yourself and your wife, Jill, I mean, you have 4 others at least working, certain areas. And it almost seems like they have their own business model. They're their own business owner.
The way this works is, and this is going to be a slow, gradual thing. This would not be the way to necessarily go if you wanted to make a big splash and have a big cat-only business.
Yep.
Each of them are established professional pet sitters with their own businesses. And what I do is I recruit clients for them that are mainly cats. We also say we'll do small animals as well, like rabbits and guinea pigs and other things.
Sure.
So on a rare occasion, we might do a mixed thing that might include a dog, but we don't normally do that. And it would be up to them. And I refer the clients to them. And then they decide whether they want to do the clients or not. If so, they contact them and then they work it out an arrangement. And then they pay me a referral fee.
Gotcha.
And they pay me a visit fee. Up to so many visits, a maximum number of visits, let's say like 10. And then after that, that client is entirely theirs. So it's kind of, the idea is to make it a win-win thing. I'm getting them more cat sitting business. They're getting to say the part of Cats at Home Pet Sitting, which, specializes in cats. And they have the opportunity to get a new long-term client. And 3 of the clients that pet sitters I've worked with already have a couple long-term clients where they've gone past the maximum visit number. And they're real happy with that.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's kind of a short term, like, okay, I'm sharing some revenue, but long term, yeah, I mean, they're establishing that relationship. And like you mentioned earlier, it's people business and a relationship business. So, they're establishing that relationship. The clients feel comfortable. And yeah, then they're, getting the benefit of your brand, but also, being able to make what is in essence 100% of the revenue after a certain point. So I think it's a pretty unique business model, from what I've seen.
It doesn't always work good. Like, for example, the person who needs somebody for just 2 days, we're trying to figure out how we can change that a little bit, because then the referral fee is too high.
Sure.
So, but we're moderating that. But the idea is that the brand helps them. It's helped me too, there, because I feel like we've increased our client base for cats in the last 2 years over 50% because of this brand.
Sure.
Pampered Pet Sitting is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It gets confusing, but so what it's done is it's not only helped them, but it's helped me increase my cat business here in the Warrensburg, Sedalia area.
Yeah, and so that was something when we were talking earlier. I was going to ask you, so when somebody calls Pampered Pet Sitting and they say, "Hey, yeah, I've got 2 cats," do you kind of push them towards Cats at Home and work it within that brand so it kind of stays within there, or do you just?
No, I just book them through Pampered Pet Sitting.
Okay.
Cats at Home. Think of Cats at Home is almost a brand like, oh God. I'm trying to think of a company that has several brands. You know what I mean? There's some companies out there that have several brands.
Yeah.
And so Cats at Home is just like our cats division of our
Sure.
business.
Yeah.
With a separate brand is what it really is. But it also, what I tell people also is that we're a group of professional pet sitters who specialize in cats.
Yeah, and it's funny. So one question that I just kind of popped in my head, because I've spent 10 years kind of building my brand, and you spent nearly 20 years and now over 20 years building Pampered Pet Sitting. Did you kind of feel this like, well, man, I'm really loyal to this brand, and now you're creating a second one, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you worry about a little bit about confusion, and I'm sure a few people have gotten a little bit confused, but I think we got more positives than negatives, and eventually, Pampered Pet Sitting is going to be almost all cats.
Sure.
And who knows, we might just change it over to just cats at home pet sitting. Or maybe one of the people that work with Pampered Pet Sitting will take over the dog only end of it.
Right.
I'm 71. I feel my joints and my muscles big time dealing with dogs. So I want to work. This is my way to do it, but I don't want to abruptly do it. I know other pets who've abruptly done that, but I don't want to go that route.
Yeah, and I'm a few years younger, but I've played baseball for 30 years. So I feel those joint pains and everything else like you do, especially when I have to get up early in the morning to do some pet sits. So
and that's what So no, that's one of the big keys behind it. But what makes it hard is we've got over 50 clients who've been with us over 10 years or longer. So it's hard to just totally say no to them. We have a handful of clients who've been with us over 20 years.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to say no to them.
Oh, I absolutely. I was just at dinner with one of our clients. They're doing overnight visits, and obviously they've been with us, for well over 10 years. And like you said, we've been through multiple pets, as some have unfortunately passed on and they've got new pets, but yeah, there's no way you can say no to those clients. So I can totally relate to that. So, with cats at home, I mean, you've got these other people working these territories. Why'd you decide to go that direction instead of saying, hey, yeah, I'm going to hire employees or ICs? And
number one, I don't like the idea of hiring employees. I don't want to deal with the government. It's that simple. I've dealt with that before in previous businesses, and it's a huge headache. I'm not a human resource person, and I don't want to contract that out to someone else. All it does is decrease your profits.
Sure.
Decrease your headaches. So I came up with this model of, hey, and another reason we went that way is because these other pet sitters approached me on the idea of doing this together.
Okay.
So gotcha. I think this might be the best way to try it.
Gotcha. And that actually kind of leads me to my next question, because, a lot of the sitters, I mean, just kind of reading their bios on, your About Me page, they came from the corporate world and, work traditional jobs. When they come to you and say, hey, yeah, I kind of want to do this, what's your process in kind of vetting them out to make sure that they're the right person to run their territory?
Well, what happened is I'm not actually looking for anybody right now. We were all at a PSI conference in Myrtle Beach a few years ago, and we got talking about cat sitting and everything. And then afterwards, when they got back to the Kansas City area, they approached me, and we started the idea of trying to get it going. So then another person approached me as well. So, and then they've all approached me.
Gotcha. So, and, I guess, to follow up on that, I mean, there's a lot of people that are, might approach you, but how do you know they're the right person, as opposed to someone where like they approach you and you're like,
I do vetting. Oh, no, I terribly vet. Number one, I made sure they had insurance and bonding. They were all, as it turned out, they were all members of Pet Sitters International, which I have been for 22 years. But I was able to go through and check to see, that they have the insurance, and kind of, I saw some of their testimonials, and I kind of checked the reviews. I did everything you would do if you were interested in hiring them in yourself.
Gotcha. So
this didn't happen quickly. This took many months, almost a year.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's a lesson to anyone building any type of business. It's not an overnight thing where some
Oh,
people kind of think it is, right? Yeah.
no, 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 no. And then I actually, what I do sometimes I'm interested, I find I ask them which veterinarian they go to for their own personal ones. And I go and talk to the vet. And I always try to make friends with vet staff. And I'll say, hey, how's Kathleen been with bringing her own pets? You guys, how is she? And a lot of times they'll tell me. I'm sure they wouldn't tell me anything bad.
Yeah.
But they, if they tell me, oh, she's real conscientious, she does this, they even go on and look at the records. Oh, yeah, they're regular. They're always when they're supposed to be here. And if they weren't, they would tell me that, and I wouldn't be interested.
Yeah, and I think vet referrals are something that's extremely underrated and something that, quite frankly, I mean, I have a few vets that we deal with, but it's an area of marketing that, quite frankly, I'd love to deal with even more. But you're right, when you're looking at potential partners in your business, talking to the vet, I think, is really great. Because you're right, it gives you an idea because they have that same relationship, client to business, that you're going to look for on the reverse end, because they're going to be dealing with the clients.
Right.
So, one thing, and, I know we talked earlier and you're like, yeah, I'm not really a techie guy, but, I've learned over the years. So with pet sitting, I mean, obviously, web searches are extremely, extremely localized.
Right.
How do you get people in some of these other territories of your cats at home, with just that one website? So how are you, ensuring that these other people get clients?
It's difficult. I mean, we're still working that through, and, none of them expect a lot. So it's not a big deal. What they're getting from us is a supplement. So, but, what I've done is I do the Google posts occasionally, and I do blogs. I haven't done any blogs in a while, but I do blogs. And what works really, really good for me, and most people don't have any success with it, but I do with both of them, is Facebook boosted posts and ads.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we do a lot of Facebook ads, with our local business, and you're right, it does work wonders. We've also done, obviously, we rank pretty high in our Google search, but even those outer areas where we think we kind of need a little bit of boost, that's a great supplement, and does definitely pay off. So Jay, what advice would you give to someone that might be looking to start a feline focused pet sitting business?
Well, I've actually given advice to 3 or 4 others over the last year or 2 years. I tell them, number one, you better be passionate about cats, because people can tell, the cat people can tell whether you're just looking for the cat business or whether you're looking for the pets that the cats because you love them or you're passionate about them. So that's my number one thing is. And then the other thing is to get involved with the cat community and the communities that you serve. We sponsor cat shows. I work with cat rescue. So that's real important as well. And then, try to get to know the staff at any cat-only veterinarian service. And then do your normal marketing things. I do newsletters, especially for cats. And, don't just have a page on your website about cats. You don't necessarily have to go for a full website like I did, but you have to intermingle cats throughout your entire website and all your marketing, and don't have a name that doesn't kind of go with cats, or there's been a few of them that had names mostly about dogs, and then they decide they wanted to do cats.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go with a different name that's a bit different, even if it doesn't have the word cats in it.
Sure.
You might want to even have a different email address, all those types of things to show that it's really your focus, because cat people are eccentric.
Yeah. Well,
more than even dog people are.
I would definitely agree with that.
And they're going to mostly be an older clientele. I mean, there's some younger cat people too, but they're going to be mostly an older clientele, and they're even more eccentric.
Yeah, and I think to your point, like you said, hey, the reason I want to take care of cats is because I'm getting a little older. I think to your point, older people will tend to gravitate towards cats because, there is a little bit less maintenance and, than there is with dogs. You don't have to walk them 3 times a day, certainly. And I think you brought up a great point, and that's kind of worth repeating is, for pet sitters that have a website, yeah, it's all dogs, dogs, dogs. If you don't mix in the cats in some way, shape, or form, it's going to be hard to attract that type of business. And what I found, at least in terms of the number of clients, especially vacation clients, we do more cats than we do dogs. Now when you factor in daily dog walking and some of the other stuff that my business does, yeah, okay, the revenue is probably higher with dogs, but again, it's hard to totally figure it out because, to your point, we do have families that have dogs and cats, and we're taking care of both at the same time. So, but I think you made an excellent point there. So, Jay, one thing I always like to ask, the people that come on my podcast is to tell the listeners something about yourself that most people might not know about you. And I might be putting you on the spot there.
No, I don't mind. I for many, many years, my passion was tennis and sports. I played tennis competitively for 50 years. And it was the most important thing in my life for a long, long time. So that is one of the things that some people may not know about me. So all the way from age 12, but I had to give it up about 9 years ago. But I picked up pickleball earlier this year, and I may keep trying it again. So it's a little bit different than tennis and not quite as taxing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know. I'm 53 now, and I'm still playing softball competitively. And every year I'm like, yeah, is this the last year? So, so I totally get it.
When was the last time I played tennis?
Yeah. It's
competitively, but I even played in the state tournaments and national tournaments and all over, even all the way up to 2002.
Wow. Yeah, that's.
But I was in the other sports too, and I'm still fanatic about certain sports as a spectator. But yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that's great. So, Jay, tell us where people can find you.
Well, I mean, either Pampered Pet Sitting of Warrensburg or Cats at Home Pet Sitting.
Gotcha. So yeah, we're definitely going to put links in for a lot of the stuff we talked about today on the podcast. So you'll be able to see that in the show notes on petcarerockstars.com. Jay Pattiz, hey, thank you so much. I mean, this has truly been an honor. Definitely appreciate you coming and spending some time with me today.
This has been Pet Care Rockstars with Dave Westwood. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to the show so you'll be first to hear new episodes packed with tips and tools for your pet care business. And visit our website at petcarerockstars.com to find out about the Pet Care Rockstars program, our all-in-one solution to get you up and running for your pet care business. To join the conversation and access more great content on your favorite social media sites, just search Pet Care Rockstars.